Hello, hello. Been a minute. All right. So here we are back on Facebook and YouTube. And I'm working on getting the Substack lives going, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. So tonight we're going to talk about the Gnostic texts. I've been teaching on the Gnostic texts on TikTok for a little over a month. So, for those of you who have not seen those teachings, I just made them public. Because of the censorship on TikTok, I am not going to do lives on TikTok. I'm going to do them on, for now, Facebook, YouTube. Eventually, it will be YouTube, Substack, and then Blue Sky. But because I have people on all the platforms, and we are moving over here from Substack, from TikTok. I came on yesterday and everyone said, yeah, they want me to do it tonight. So hopefully the stream is going through and y'all can see it. Let me message out my Discord and let them know. And get everybody in here. Oops, I said love. I meant live. I love you too, but Rita made it. What's up, girl? I just told everyone on Discord. It's so weird to be back on all these two platforms. And I'm trying to get everything working, and I think there's a slight delay. So hello. I was just saying we're going to cover the tripartite tractate tonight, which is a Valentinian teaching, is different than the normal Sethian teachings that we've already studied. So the origin story is slightly different. There's no delay. Okay, cool. So the origin story for this one, like the Valentinian, the tripartite tractate, it's slightly different in that they believe more like, not that they removed Sophia, but the Apocrypha of John that we already studied was very centered around Sophia, right? Divine feminine. Holland's Journals, Anna made it. What's up, girl? Y'all are too. I love it. And I can't tell if anyone is on Facebook. If y'all are watching from Facebook, let me know. Say hello. We've got one on Facebook. And I don't know who's watching, but whoever you are, say hello. Say hello. I can see all the comments in one place, which is good. It works for me. And hopefully you guys can hear okay. Is the volume okay? Can you see okay? Yes or no? It's so different than doing a live on TikTok. So everybody's getting here, which is good. We've got people coming on to Facebook now, and we've got YouTube. So the two stories that we're talking about, thank you, Rita. The two stories that while this story that I'm going to share with you tonight, the tripartite tractate, you have it in the Nag Hammadi text that I gave you in the Discord. If you're in my Discord, if not in my Discord, you need to send me a message and I'll get you a link to the Discord after. This sounds okay. Perfect. Hold on and let me double check. I want to make sure it put me on the right audio. Yes, it did. I hate it when it jumps to my camera audio because my camera audio is super tinny. But the story that we studied, the Apocrypha of John, was about the incorruptible source energy, right? The unnameable. And then there was Yaldabaoth, who was the Demerge, the Aeon Sophia, who was the emanation of divine feminine wisdom from source energy, created Yaldabaoth. Y'all remember that part? This story's slightly different. And it can be confusing because it's like, well, it's a Gnostic text. It was found in the same place. There were splinters of belief systems. What's up, girl? Good to see you. There's a splinter in the belief systems that happened during that time, much like we have the Christian church, the Catholic church, the Protestant church, the Lutheran church, on and on and on. This, I want you to think of as we go through just the basic teachings of it. And I'm probably not going to read the text. I might read part of it, but it's long. And it talks about the three types of humans. I don't look at it like types of humans because I think that locks us into a finite understanding. I look at it as three levels of consciousness. Does that make sense? But it's good to look at this text because it does open up a different way of understanding. And like I told you guys on TikTok when I was teaching you over there, I'm not here to tell y'all what to believe. I think the Gnostic text answers a lot more questions than the traditional Christian text. And I think understanding about the divine feminine is important. In the Valentinian beliefs, they sprinkle Sophia throughout, but they don't name her. Like, she is called the church, right? And the church is feminine, and the church is mentioned very differently here. But in this origin text, this origin story, in the beginning there was one, just like the other one. The one wasn't a man or a woman, it was everything. It was love, it was peace, it was silence, it was like a big heart in the center of everything. And I'm jumping right into the teaching tonight because this is all going to be recorded and saved onto Facebook and onto YouTube. So y'all don't, like, anyone that comes in late, they'll just have to rewatch the replay. And I don't want to keep you guys forever either, but I do want your participation. So as we're talking about this stuff, add your comments, add your thoughts, because it will direct the conversation as well. Right? Again, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm just sharing the teachings with you. All right. So from that one came a voice, a thought, a word. Now, so far between this text and the Sethian version of the Apocrypha of John, that origin story, it's the same, basically. It's almost the same as the Christian teachings within the Old Testament as well. But here they say this was the Logos. So instead of calling it aeon, it's calling it Logos, the very first being. And that very first being, the Logos, said, I see you and I know where I come from, to the original source energy, to the original divine, one true creator, male, female, Father, God, right? Does that make sense? You guys following me? I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible because these texts can get very complicated very fast. But put in the comments, do you understand? The one divine God said, yes, now I can see myself through you. Here's why this is so important in this text. I've taught you guys and I've talked to you guys about we're all each unique divine expressions of source energy, of the divine God, the nameless, the incomprehensible, the incorruptible. We are. And through us living our lives here on planet Earth and doing all the things and evolving and growing and whatnot, God gets to know itself through us. Each one of us is a divine expression, right? Everything comes from source energy: dogs, horses, cats, cows, trees, the ocean, right? The rain, the lightning, the fire, each a divine emanation or expression of God. So each time our unique expression goes through something, feels something, yearns for something, overcomes something, that is God seeing itself through us. And that's powerful. Right? So the Logos recognized that it was created and it recognized its creator in the first part of this story. And the Logos was full of love for its maker, but he made a mistake. He thought he was separate. So this is where the story is somewhat similar to Yaldabaoth, but they left out Sophia. So the story kind of starts to go in a little bit of a different direction. And if you have questions about it, just put it in the chat. Like, literally put it in the chat. He realized that he'd made a mistake too, and then he got quiet and he asked God for help, like the divine for help. And the one lifted him up again, and that's how his healing began. That's how the return began. Now, in the other story, the one that we have already studied, that's a little bit more well known, called the Apocryphon of John. In the beginning, there was the one, but the one couldn't be described at all, even as love. It wasn't described. So remember, we talked about like the whole beginning of that story was like, it's unnameable, it's unknowable. It was before everything, remember? Well, slightly different from this story. And from that one came a bright mirror that they called Barbelo or Barbello. And from her came Sophia, wisdom herself. So that's the Apocryphon of John. But then Sophia got curious and she wanted to create something on her own. And that story, and she did, and what she made was blind and arrogant. Now, in this story, the tripartite tractate is different in that the Logos didn't realize, like it got a little proud and then kind of felt separate from God, and then asked for help and was brought back in. Like God showed him, you're good. Right. You remembered who he was. In that story, Sophia made Yaldabaoth and he thought he was God. So he didn't just forget. He actually thought, in his arrogance and his ignorance and his blindness, he thought he was God and there was none before him. That's pretty consistent almost with the way we hear that voice. That's the God of the Old Testament, right? You guys, if you've studied the Bible at all, you know that story, right? That's the God of the Old Testament. So Yaldabaoth made the world, our world, and he didn't know what he was doing. But then he made Adam, and Adam he saw as a god, bigger, brighter, lighter than him, and then wanted to trap him in the body, which then created the cycle of reincarnation. I think that was the last teaching we did, was reincarnation. Is that right? You guys remind me. Those of you who are listening or watch the videos, let me know. Because that's where we left off. Now, one story says we forget who we are, but we can remember. That's the tripartite, the gentle return story, origin story. And then the other one says that it was, okay, thank you, Rita. The other one says we're trapped in a false system, okay, but we can escape. We can remember and we can break free. More of a sort of rebel awakening, where this tripartite tractate text is a gentle remembering. That one's a rebellious awakening, because that one goes deeper into a different path. I don't think either one's wrong. The tripartite tractate is more with the Valentinians. They were more philosophy, mythology, than they were the like, this is the truth kind of a thing. And that's something that we actually have to keep in mind when we're reading the Gnostic text. And remember, gnosis means knowledge, and it's the inner knowing. Both are meant to bring us back to the light and the inner knowing. That's what we're here for. The difference between the two in the tripartite, it's to remember the light and return to wholeness. In the Apocryphon of John, it's to wake up and escape the lie. I resonate more with the Apocryphon of John when I've studied that one than I do the tripartite tractate. I'm curious, which one do you resonate more with? Put it in the comments so far. Like, which one do you resonate more with? Because see, in the tripartite it's about like a small mistake was made in the realm of truth when Logos like kind of got a little confused with separation, where in the Apocryphon of John, it was an actual false god that was created and created a prison world. So they diverge, they start to split paths from the beginning. And then again, Sophia's left out of this one. And that's probably why I resonate more to the Apocryphon of John. But I'm curious what you guys resonate more to so far. Let me know. In the tripartite tractate, they talk about realigning through love, truth, and healing. I don't think that that's wrong. Again, this is more theoretical than it is story. Rita's saying John. Yeah, me too. In the Apocryphon of John, it is about breaking free through the gnosis from the inner knowing. And it is about knowing thyself, right? Most of the Gnostic texts are about inner knowing. And that aligns to a lot of the New Testament teachings as well. In the tripartite text, is the world bad? No, but it is distorted. Again, I believe that. I can see that. It says it's distorted, but it can be healed. Where in the Apocryphon of John, is the world bad? It's more a yes, it was made by a fraud, and we are meant to see through the illusion of it. Right? So on one side, no, tripartite tractate says, no, the world's not bad. It's just distorted. It's inverted. Apocryphon of John says it was created by something evil and it was created as a prison planet, but we can't escape it. Both say we can come out of the world. In the tripartite tractate teachings, God is in the center of everything and still loving us. I believe that. Apocryphon of John, God is hidden beyond the veil, wanting to be found. They're not that different, right? I don't think that they're that different. I think they sort of speak to the same thing, whether it's that in the tripartite, like God's in the center of everything, the creation of everything, and is loving us through everything we're going through. I don't think that's wrong. I believe that. I feel that. But on the other side, I also do know that the true God, the incomprehensible, unnameable one, is hidden beyond the veil, and most people don't even recognize that. So one story teaches that you've got to heal your soul to evolve. The other story teaches that you've got to break the chains of illusion to evolve. Both are sacred. And the truth is, you might need both. Like, there are parts of both stories that I think we can grow from, we can use for sure, no matter what. In the tripartite, they break people into three kinds. This is where it becomes a little more finite or holistic in my book. It says that there's one, the Hylics, which are material people. Now, y'all tell me in the comments if you can see this in the world. The material people is the lowest, let's just say the lowest realm of people. But before I read it, I want you to think in terms of this isn't like just a person. I believe these are levels of consciousness. But the Hylics are referred to as material people. They're people who only believe in what they can see, what they can touch, what they can control. Do you know people like that? I think we're seeing it right now on this planet being played out. They live for power, money, approval, survival. It's funny. I watched a video on YouTube last week about the three types of people. And I mean, they were very like, this is the facts. And if you're a Hylic, you can never change, right? Like, you're soulless, you have no heart. And I'm like, whoa, that's a bit much. And now we're locking it into the reality being only human. So whoever made that video, I don't know if that's just their bend on it. I don't know. But they don't think about their souls, and they don't desire to wake up. That's why I say they're the lowest form. And they're very much in the body. And in the body, they're the type that has tight jaws, busy brains. Everything is a prove it or I won't believe it kind of a thing, right? Some of you probably have family members, friends, coworkers like they're people that are addicted to systems. They're addicted to any type of control. They are addicted to their identity in the material world. So what I do, what I own, what brands I wear, kind of the, let's just say, celebrity status, because that's what we see, right, out in the world. The second type of people are called the psychic people or psychico. They are people that are open, they want to grow. And remember, this is what the tripartite tractate teaches, not overall definitions. It's specific to that text. The psychic people feel deeply and they care, they pray, but they still rely on outside structures, religion, laws, leaders to define their truth. So they need approval, right? They need someone to tell them what to believe, what to think. They're open, so that's good. Their heart's open, and their mind, they have a questioning mind, but they're always a little afraid of going too far or getting off track. So they tend to have a lot of fear. People who want to do good, you can think of them like that. People who want to do good, but still follow rules way too closely. And yet they're still on the edge of awakening, but they are not awakened. Like they're on the edge. Dennis, what's up? We're talking about the tripartite tractate. So the third type of person in the tripartite tractate, they're called the pneumatics. They're, in simple terms, spirit people. These are the ones who do remember, even if they've gone through trauma, darkness, silence, they carry the light inside. Miss Ashley, what's up? We started like 22 minutes ago, so y'all are going to have to go back and watch the replay of the first part because you missed it and I want to go back through it. But this is recording, so it will stay onto YouTube if you click on the live tab or on Facebook, depending on where you're watching. Most of you are on YouTube right now, I think. Margarita on Facebook. Hi, Margarita. It's good to see you. I haven't been on Facebook doing lives much at all in months and months and months. So, hello. All right. So the third type of person is the pneumatics. Understand, see yourself as type 1 or 2. So let's see the third. Yeah, the pneumatics. They are ones that feel truth in their bones. They have good discernment. They don't need a middleman to talk to God. Like, right? And they don't believe, they know. Inner knowing. So these are the ones that have the gnosis. These are the ones, and many of you are that way. You're pneumatic, right? Because let's go back through the definitions for anyone who is late. The Hylics, the first type, the material people, I mean, they only believe what they can see, touch, and control. They only live for power, money, control, approval, survival. They don't think about the soul, and they don't want to wake up. They're happy in the material world. I don't see any of you like that. They live only by the 5 senses. They do not rely on intuition. They don't pray from a body standpoint. They're the busy brains and prove it or I won't believe it. And they're very tied to the system. They're not evil. Let me make that clear. The first type are not evil. They are just asleep inside the illusion. They're completely asleep and they don't want to wake up. Okay. That second type, the psychico or the psychic people, these are the people who are open. They do want to grow. They feel things deeply. They care. They pray. They meditate, but they still rely heavily on outside structures to define them, to define the truth. They rely on religion, on laws, on leaders. They feel the divine, but they have not fully embodied it or not fully experienced it, right? They have open hearts and questioning minds, but they're afraid to go too far. They don't trust themselves. And there are people who want to do good, but still follow the rules too closely. But then the pneumatics, the spiritual people, they are in that place of knowing, right? They don't need to believe. They just know. They just know, and they know that they know. And even though they've gone through things, they've gone through traumas and darkness, they carry the light inside and they're aware of it. And they feel that truth within them strongly. Looked for the meaning pneumatic from Greek pneuma means spirit or breath. Yeah. Very good, Rita. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to pop your comment up so the rest of you can see what she was writing. It's good. I love etymology. Love it, love it, love it to break down the meanings of words, especially because there's so many words within the Gnostic text that we don't have reference to in our common language, right? So thank you, my friend. The pneumatics, in their body, there's stillness. They are centered. There is fierce gentleness, a strange kind of joy, even in hard times, right? Gratitude still exists, still resides, even if it's difficult, right? They are the mystics. They are the rebels. They're the truth seekers and the truth speakers. They're the ones who scare the system, right? They're the ones that speak truth to power. Now, understand, you can move between these levels. I don't see them as different types of people. I see them as levels of consciousness. Now, if you've been with me for any amount of time, y'all know I've talked about like narcissism and psychopathy and sociopathy. I believe these are streams of consciousness. Awakening is a stream of consciousness. So when I say these three levels are actual streams of consciousness that we kind of need, like a ladder, we drop into any one of them, right? But for the most part, I don't think anyone here is in that place of the material beings. I don't think anyone here is of the Hylics because they don't care to grow. And they are so entrenched in the material world. That's all that's real to them. Now, remember, this is the tripartite tractate and it's Valentinian in nature. There's someone that you know, her name's Bernadette. Bernadette getting kicked off of TikTok live for spreading truth. Maybe. And then goes on to do a live someplace else as a rebel. Maybe. Remember though, like the tripartite tractate emphasizes Sophia as the church doesn't really name her. She's hidden within the structure of the teaching. She's not the primary figure like the Apocryphon of John that we studied, where Sophia is the emanation. She's an aeon, came directly from source, wisdom herself, right? And she too created something. That's not the way this story goes. Sethian Gnosis uses Sophia to explain the cosmic fall and the birth of Demerge, the Yaldabaoth. And while people say it's mythology, it's about error, exile, rescue. It's about the path that we're kind of on here on this planet, all of us, where the Valentinian Gnosis is about healing that split, more so than like tracing the blame. Like, who do we blame? If you think about like the Apocryphon of John and the way that story was, Yaldabaoth created the earth and then he created Adam and then Eve and did all the things and wanted to imprison us on the prison planet in our bodies and yada, 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 right? Like, and he's to blame for the travesty called life that we all struggle through. Where that's not so, in the Valentinian Gnostic texts. They were both found in the same hidey hole, when they dug them up in 1945 in Egypt, but different schools of thought or different theology. Um, the tripartite tractate still tells us of a fall, but it's of the Logos who stumbles briefly through pride, where the feminine principle is there. She's actually absorbed in the concept of church if you read the full text, right? They do still consider that there was a male and a female counterpart called the syzygies. We talked about that when we read the Apocryphon of John. Do you guys remember that? The syzygies, such a weird word to say. The syzygies were the Christos and Sophia. There was always a male and a female, right? There was the Holy Spirit as well, like another feminine aspect, but the eons were created in divine partnership of male and female, divine masculine, divine feminine. So logos, or the word, is paired in the tripartite as they named it Zoe, Zoe, or life, right? Man is paired with the church. And in this text, it's anthropos is the word they use for man. And then it's paired with ecclesia, which is the church. That's the feminine aspect. So you have man and you have the church. That goes closer in with the teachings from Christianity, if you think about it, because like all through Christianity, they don't hold women, the feminine, in high esteem in modern Christianity and the Orthodox Christianity. Do you know what I mean? Like, what did they say in the New Testament? The head of the house is the husband, and the wife is submissive to him, like the church is to Christ. So they always which it wasn't about submission. It was about equality. But because the divine feminine was included in these texts or in Orthodox Christianity, modern Christianity, the meanings got lost, completely lost, right? It's more woven. The feminine's woven throughout the structure of the teachings, not as a character, but as sort of a field of energy, and describes it as receptive, relational, harmonizing, balancing, which is all the things that Sophia, divine wisdom, the divine feminine, that's all the things that she is. But they talk about it so differently. And it's intentional. It isn't ignoring the feminine, but it is actually diffusing her throughout the body of God, not considering her an equal cohort and balancing partner of Christ. That was like a theological shift. So historically, and this is something you guys need to know, because the Valentinians, their teachings, this is where the split away from including the divine feminine sort of began, right? We always wonder, like, why was it left out? How was it left out? It was intentional. The Valentinians wanted to make their teachings more palatable to the proto-Orthodox Christians. So they changed their stories. Let's just say they melded them. And they avoided any stories that seemed too mythological, too scandalous, or went against the more masculine teachings, patriarchal teachings of the day. So we need to keep Sophia's stories and principle alive. They did, but they hid it more in a code and referred to it as the church, which to me, you watered it way down. Like, you watered it down so much that as the story went on, as those teachings went on, people stopped revering and honoring the divine feminine. It was all about the divine masculine, and we lost the fullness, right? It was Eve was the problem. Women are evil. I can't be the only one that feels like that. Like that's where it went and where the teachings continued and other religions kept and theology schools kept teaching it from that place where in the Sethian gnosis, Sophia falls, right? She goes to create something. She doesn't get her partner involved. She creates the Demerge, Yaldabaoth, and the rest of the story y'all know. Where in Valentinian Gnosis in the origin story, she's already being restored. You know, they just don't mention her. And her voice does move throughout the system, supposedly as healing, not part of the root story. She's part of the structure. In Valentinian thought, though, they believed everything began and ended in union, and every divine being has its partner or its mirror, right? So for every masculine, there's divine mirror in the feminine. Like they saw that, they taught that, they believed that. But of course, when you change the story and you bury the teaching, it's like the telephone game. The more you tell it, the more it loses the full essence and the origin of it. Um, Probably why I resonate more to the Apocryphon of John in the Sethian Gnosis text than I do the Valentinian of the tripartite tractate. The feminine's not missing in this one. She's the rhythm behind the light, but she's just not called out or identified quite like that. Like, uh, and in that teaching, it's like I can imagine her saying, like, I'm there, you just can't see me. And you can search through, but my name's missing, right? Like in this tripartite tractate, she's just not there. She's in the space between the words, which from a symbolic or a spiritual perspective, and you guys tell me what you think about this, just my thoughts. There's a lot that we can learn and grow through by going deeper and sort of listening for what's not being said in that space or that breath between words. There's a lot of frequency there that we end up missing. And I get that they hid her there in that rhythm between words, in those breaths. But to me, I think it disempowered the entire feminine throughout history. And I think we lost a lot of gnosis, a lot of knowledge, a lot of understanding because she wasn't named. And in the Orthodox Christianity, it became normal to leave her out, to leave divine feminine, to leave divine wisdom out, right? Like they touch on it, but then you need that third party. And that was how they grabbed control, how the patriarch remained in control. If they had kept it as a pair that was emanated at the same time, the Christos, Christ, and Sophia, I don't think that we would have had as hard of a time. And maybe there would have been more light because she is like the womb of light, right? Does that make sense? I mean, she is in every union, she is in everyone remembering. And she is the song in the tripartite tractate that the Logos sings to remember, but they don't say it like that. So we don't even get to identify her, right? And then of course they don't include those things in the book. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one, Ashley, because I'm like, the tripartite tractate does not show the Sophia fall either, right? It makes sense, Susan. Good. All right. Good to see you, friend. It doesn't include the fall like it did in the Seth text, right? The Apocryphon of John. There's no story of Sophia's rebellion in creating like her own little demerge. They didn't talk about that. You good? We're with you? Good. Okay. They didn't talk about that there. Any fall that they spoke about in that text, Denise, what's up, girl? Any description of that was subtle, right? It was more like Logos was misaligned and forgot where, and there was no Sophia meltdown, right? She didn't go into hiding, go hide y'all to both in a cloud. Like there was none of that. That story was not included. Rather than presenting the pleroma as the unfolding through mistakes and tragedy, the tractate sees the Logos just briefly forgetful. It's like a brief disturbance in the field. And then, the unnameable, incomprehensible one brings him close and all is well. There's no mention of the feminine. That's why I don't resonate to this text quite as much, but there's important things in there because it does break down those 3 levels of consciousness, right? The material, the ones that are asleep that don't want to wake up, the ones that believe, but they aren't awake yet. And then the ones that are awake and are aware and are constantly on their journey, like those levels of consciousness. And we can cycle through all of them. Don't think that we can't. We can. Our job is to continue that path of growth and evolution to the full remembering, embodying our full power, divine, masculine, feminine, and then seeing through the illusion. That to me makes a lot more sense than some of this other stuff, because within the tripartite tractate, it's more of a unitary character, the father, no mother, right? And it's very masculine friendly, not feminine friendly. That whole insistence just kind of bugs me. The divine narrative just simplifies the Trinity to Father, Logos, Church. And then the church is not defined as feminine, is not defined as Sophia. Again, she's hidden in the structures. So whether that's law, the church, blah, blah, blah. So then eventually you just forget about her. You forget about her whole existence. Maybe that's where, how in Revelations it talks about the woman had to go into hiding. Sophia had to go into hiding to avoid being chased by the beast. Sometimes that's what I think. Like she hid in structures. She hid between the words. She hid in between the breath. She's always been there. Divine wisdom's always been there. The divine feminine's always existed, but we don't honor it. We weren't taught it. It wasn't included. It was always layered underneath, in between, the in between places. And it's like we have to go search for it. And the only way that the gnosis returns, divine wisdom returns, is if we do search it and then teach it, because it was left out. And it was left out purposely. Like I said, the Valentinians changed their text so that it would be more palatable to the pro-Orthodox Christianity, which kind of sucks. Let's see. Again, I don't really want to read through all of it because I think it would bore you guys. But let's break it down, like go through the material consciousness, that first layer, because that is the unconscious state, right? The unconscious state where life is purely external. This is where so many of our people right now on the planet are asleep, or they are embedded in church, in religion that doesn't include the full teachings, right? I think you guys can see that. I've been talking a lot about that on videos. They're driven by survival. Material consciousness keeps you in survival-driven consciousness. This is why I tell you guys, you need to heal your traumas, because then you're out of the illusion of the world. They can't perceive the divine spark. Even if they hear about it, it doesn't hit for them. Like there's no logic to it, to them, which is always weird to me, but that is the way that they are. their consciousness signature is more of fear, attachment, addiction to image, to sensation, to desire, to pleasure, to the immediate. They are the fast food culture, right? They are the ones that are like, I don't want to feel anything. I'm just going to tune out. That's why addiction comes in so strong. They need to learn that they're more than their body and that there's absolutely something beyond what they can see. But for many of them, they don't have that desire, low level of consciousness. That second level of consciousness, where I think most of us bounce between the top one, the spiritual consciousness, and then the psychic consciousness. The psychic consciousness is more of a questioning state. Does that make sense? Like, you sense the mystery, the divinity, the deeper meaning. You even study it. You seek it through whatever tradition, morality, maybe religion, maybe in acts of service, right? You're still reliant heavily on the external structures, the laws, the belief systems, the authority figures. Now, I think, yes, Denise, yeah, I think that because, and this is where I see the positive aspect of everything falling apart right now. There is a positive aspect in so many ways because of what's happening within the Christian nationalist movement, the far right movement, and their large desire to get rid of whoever they don't agree with, whatever color they don't agree with, whatever belief system they don't agree. Because of that, it is driving more people into a higher level of questioning, which then will allow them to get to the spiritual level of consciousness, where right now I think they're bouncing in that psychic consciousness. Like, they believe that there's a God. They don't know any other teachings. They're stuck in the church and the system and the laws and the dogma, believing in our so-called authority figures. I wouldn't see them as that, but because I don't think you can be a leader when you don't have a soul. But that's just me. Gotta throw my personal opinion in there, you know. Their consciousness signature is hope, struggle. And like I said, sometimes we bounce, right? Somehow related to the K-pop Demon Hunters, just wondering. This is its own text. You know, I think that movie, the K-pop Demon Hunters, there's layers and layers of meaning in it. Because if you think about, yeah, the three girls, but think about the journey, right? They're in the world, they're singing, they're idolized by others, right? They're accepted in this little group. They're reliant on each other. They have this job to do, though. They're aware of their purpose, that they've got to save the Hanmoon. They're all still hiding things. They don't have full trust. They are not fully vulnerable, right? And then in comes the actual demons. They get deceived by it. Now they have to go through that battle. And during that battle, their egos kick in. They question who they are. It takes them down, right? It tears them apart. It creates this rift of division. And then they have to go through the healing and the remembering of who they are. And because Rima finally was like, I'm just going to embrace my dark edges. I'm just going to embrace my marks. Shows up to battle, whether she's got to do it alone or not. She's like, on that stage, this is what it sounds like, right? I got chills right now. And I want to cry because that's the thing that we all go through. Like, they could have all just quit and had their souls sucked by the Saja boys, right? Yeah, the ego brings in doubt and separation. The part that I really wish people understood is the separation, the division, the I'm different than you, the I can't trust you, the I'm good enough. You thought about that and Sophia when I watched it? They're literally, y'all. That's why I wanted you guys to watch it, because encoded in that movie it's literally so symbolic of the battle that we are all in right now, and many are awakening, right? The Saja boys, if you think about Jinu, he literally, he's of the first kind, the material consciousness, but he does have a spark of that psychic in him, that psychic consciousness, the psychikoi. He has a bit of it because he was human once. He just sold his soul to eat, and he left his mother and his sister, and that never left him. You know, the story even there is that story of that fall. You know, it's like what Sophia did. Like she created something. I don't think that he meant to forever abandon his family, because he wouldn't have had any guilt had he not had a soul. Do you know what I mean? That's the part that a lot of people miss, is like those memories kept coming back and bothering him because he did have a soul still. That's what she saw in him and wanted to awaken. She didn't try to save all of the demons. She just tried to save him, right? So within that story, yeah, it is very much the remembering. We watched the cycle that they all went through, right? They're like, all right, we're gonna do all these things, and we've got to fight darkness and evil with love, and it can't come from the takedown. Like, you deserve to go down, blah blah blah. That's not how it was gonna work. That's a lower frequency. That's dipping into the material frequency of I'm fighting flesh. And in all of these teachings, it, like, they all say the same thing. They literally all say the same thing. That's why he thought he was unredeemable. Well, and he had Glima whispering in his ear too, right? Like, constantly, you can't get away from me. Did you think you could escape? Remember when he got sucked down? They did that song together. And they're like, it started to spark something in him. It started to spark hope. So if you look at the three beings, it isn't the ones that are asleep in the material world that ever had hope. It wasn't the demons don't have hope. And even in this description, in the Valentinian Gnostic text, the hope comes from being in the psychic consciousness. She was trying to get him to the spiritual consciousness. But then she got hooked down into, through her hope, which is also another lesson, right? You guys pick that one up. What brought her to the fall? Now, I don't think she necessarily fell. I think sometimes we have to fall, in the message in that movie, as well as in this text and in the Apocryphon of John. We are all going to experience falls of consciousness, falls in our knowing, gaps in our knowing because of the traumas and the challenges that we face as we make our way through our experiences in our lives. But even for her, she had hope that her marks would disappear. That hope actually drove her to her fall. It drove her to hide things. I'm not saying hope's bad, don't get me wrong, but sometimes hope can lead us to illusion. Hope can lead us to attachment. Hope can lead us at times in a place where we will hide things or avoid things. And that's that spiritual bypassing thing that happens. We can't get stopped there. It's good to have it because it's a level above the material consciousness for sure. But once you get beyond that, there's no more hope. There's only knowing. You guys get that? Like, when I talk about manifesting intentionally, creating into the world, what am I creating? It isn't about hope, it's about knowing. And it isn't about manifesting things either. Things come, yes. It's more about creating something into the world and the experience that comes behind it and the support and demonstration of what's possible to bring the formless into form. That's the higher level of manifesting that I teach, not the law of attraction bullshit that's like, visualize it to have it. Like, Yeah, that's one step, but that's not what we're here to do. Those things can come and they come very easily. Materialistic things are the easiest things to manifest. What's difficult is maintaining our knowing of who we are without pride, without arrogance, without ignorance, without hatred, without division, without attachment, without judgment. It's all those things that we're constantly battling with. She was taught to hide things. It was actually holding her back. How many of us do that? I mean, it's a great point. But literally, how many of us do this? How many of us hide our weaknesses? We hide our vulnerabilities. We're afraid to speak our truth because, oh my God, what if somebody doesn't like me? Right? I put some, I literally put shit out on social media. Yesterday was one of those days where someone that I used to be friends with, got all pissy with me, told me I was being political. I don't, I mean, some of her comments was very accusatory, presumptuous, like, if that's how you're making me for you and your family. I love it too, because it was finished off with the typical signature that I taught you guys about, love and light. I was like, could you be a little more pretentious? Could you? I'm not making money. Y'all know I don't make money on my posts on TikTok, but I'm not in the creator rewards program. I'm just about ready to hit 8,000 followers, but you got to have 10 to get your posts. That's not why I'm putting this shit out. I'm putting it out so people know what's going on. And hopefully those who don't know what's going on will see it and wake the hell up so that we can all make a movement to stop the madness and reunite and bring more love to the planet, not separation and not harm to others like we're doing. But I don't worry about those things anymore. I know people are going to come against me. I know people are going to have something to say. But most of us hit parts of our lives where our voices get removed. We quiet down, we shrink, we play small, we stop asking for what we want. We stop being who we're meant to be. We stop speaking our truth. And look, my truth doesn't have to be your truth. Like I was saying earlier, I resonate much more with the Apocryphon of John, the Sethian Gnostic text, than I do the Valentinian ones, because the Valentinian ones, it just doesn't hold. But that's my truth, where I can see other people going, no, I like the Valentinian ones, right? They like that story. Milo just showed up in my office at my door. What? Hold on. I gotta let him in or he's gonna have a cow. Not mine. You. You see his little tail go by? What? No, I'm not here to play. We're on live stream. Milo, go lay down. Go lay down. You got your head bopping up there. All right. So what can you do with the understanding of all of this? The part that I like about the tripartite tractate, and y'all can read it in the Nag Hammadi text, is the breakdown of the three types of humans, right? Or for me, the three levels of consciousness. You guys, they're saying hi, Milo. Good boy. Um, that's the part that I like. That's why it doesn't matter that they left Sophia out, right? Like, that's okay. It doesn't matter that their teaching varies slightly. There's still something important to glean from it. In their teachings of those levels of consciousness, there's a lot for us to learn, right? There's an excerpt from that teaching where they talk about the three kinds of humans or humanity, that the race of man was divided into three: the spiritual who, and this is from the text itself, the spiritual who belong above, the psychic who can be taught to go above, and then the material who perish. Remember I said this was more fatalistic? Because literally they're like, And the material ones just perish. They just die. No hope for them. Like, it's a little fatalistic. Like, there's no redemption, which to me, the whole thing's about the spiral of redemption. There's another part in here where they talk about the Savior. The Savior came not to call those who do evil. And this is interesting. Listen to this. The Savior came not to call those who do evil, but those who are unaware of the truth, that they might remember it, that the cosmia might be restored to their firm roots. The Savior doesn't condemn but awakens what was forgotten. His purpose is to reconnect souls to source. Hello, Anna. Welcome back. So think about that phrase, right? The Savior came not to call those who do evil. So not for the ones that are in the material world, the first kind of human, but those who are unaware of the truth. So the ones in the psychic consciousness. They're praying, they're hoping, they're open-hearted and open-minded, that supposedly the Savior came for that, to help them remember so that they can be restored to the heavens. But they pretty much, in that text, they write off that final one as the ones who will perish. Too bad. So to me, it's a bit fatalistic. It's their theory. It's the way that they believe. Is it possible? I mean, anything's possible, right? So what can we do with this information? What do you think we can do about it? Put in the comments. Oh, wait, I'll have some water. Because this stuff is meant to help us spark our understanding and re-spark the light of remembrance so that we can get to the higher realm, stay in the realm of the spiritual consciousness, not the psychic consciousness, the higher realm, right? What do you guys think it means? What can we do? I know for me, like through all of these teachings and through all of the years that I've studied this stuff, it literally is about overcoming the ego and personally where I need to stay and work on, like, staying above of the thought that this is final. And it's hard because we all like our lives here. We're in this moment and we're meant to live this moment, but it's hard sometimes because then there's the eternal, the forever, the heaven, and who doesn't want to be there, especially when we're going through such darkness here. But we all have families. We all have things that we love about our lives on this planet. We all have connections and we all have attachments, right? So for me, it's always about remembering, like, regardless of what happens in this time and space and all of eternity, when time collapses, I'll be reunited with all that is, and then everyone that I've ever made connection with, including all of you guys. I know all of my dogs are on the other side. I know my horses are there, my goats are there, my chickens are there, even my little hamsters and mice are there. Like, at some point, those consciousnesses that have been part of my experience will come back. And then all the other lifetimes that I've had. Have you guys thought about that? So what is it for you? What do you need to work on right now? I can tell you what I think for everybody right now, the biggest part that we have to stop being so self-absorbed. That's a good one too. Yeah. From a collective standpoint, we have got to see the systems for what they are. You know, we have to see through them. We have to speak to them. We have to name them so they lose their power. We can't pretend they don't exist, right? Because it's those systems that are tools to keep people from remembering. And my belief system, like I said, I'm more on the Yaldabaoth side, that story, that origin, that the archons use the systems to hold people in ignorance. and to hold them into living in the material world. So we have to see through them. We have to name the governments that oppress, and we have to see the technologies that erase people and beliefs. And we can't accept things, well, this is just as it is, right? Or like I was told yesterday, basically, it was someone trying to make me quiet by making those comments, you know? I can't believe you're going there. You're committing career suicide. It's like, so be it. Like, if my career ever again becomes somewhere where I can't be me, speak the truth, and let spirit lead, did I ask for your permission? Do I need your approval? How mighty presumptuous of you to think that I do at any given moment. I answer to a higher authority. I have always said that. So I've ended relationships with men over that because they're like, why do you do what you do and try and tell me to do something else? And I'm like, dude, I can't. I answer to a much higher authority. That's where you're at, Dennis. Yeah. So part of our job right now, I think, is to awaken ourselves, to continually remember, to see through the system, to name the system, to call it what it is, not to water it down, to make it more palatable and politically correct, because there ain't nothing correct about politics right now, if you ask me. And that is my God's honest truth. There is nothing palatable or correct about what we are seeing and living through and watching and fighting and feeling helpless to change. But we can change it if we keep speaking about it and pushing up against us. The pneumatic path, the spiritual consciousness, is the path that we're meant to walk. That is the one that existed from the foundation of the world. And it's not because it makes us superior. It's because that is who we are on the level of the divine. That is who we are beyond our meat suits, beyond this temporary existence in body. And we've got to stand in that authority and speak from that authority, right? We've got to anchor in our inner authority. It's nasty, hateful, and soulless. It is. Yeah. But we have power to do something, right? Gnosis is the return of our inner knowing and our inner light. And as you guys have seen with just that simple little Netflix K-pop demon hunter drama, at the exact moment that we're feeling like, what can we do? Right? Rima wanted to quit too. She thought it was a done deal. She handed her sword to her aunt and was like, do what you should have done a long time ago. I know that there have been moments in the last year and a half, especially going through cancer, that I've prayed, like, take this out of me. Like, take me out of it. I don't really care anymore. I don't want to do this. And then I look at what's happening and I sit in tears when I watch kids in cages. Hey, Bobby. And I watch people being afraid to leave their homes. And I have friends and family members that are like, what the hell, Bernadette? What's going to happen? Right? I'm looking forward to remembering who I truly am beyond ego, beyond form, returning to the light of divine knowledge. Just the fact that you said that, Rita, and everybody listen to what I'm about to say. When you speak those words, you bring it into existence. The moment we speak, the intention, the desire, the longing, we anchor that energy in. And of course, that's where you're going. The full remembrance. And that takes work. What work? We got to get control of the ego. We've got to remember who we are in every moment. We've got to stand on the higher frequencies, speak from the higher frequencies, feel, experience from the higher frequencies, and see beneath the layers of the illusion, right? We've got to go beyond the illusion. I know what we're seeing is craziness. It's still an illusion. I had to be here tonight. I have to get my ego in check, remove old contacts and belief systems and implants, I remember. I love that, Dennis. I love that. No mistakes, no coincidences, right? Our belief systems always need work. Like if any of you guys want to come into Charm Life, go to my website, or to my links in my bio wherever you follow me, and click on the Charm Life, apply. Just apply. We'll get on a call. We'll talk about it. We'll see if it's a fit for you, right? And we'll see if I'm a fit for you and if you're a fit for the group. I think everyone that pretty much has been following in this group is absolutely, y'all are in alignment. And I don't say that easily. I've had to say no to people. And like I said before, I've had to remove people, but that is the work we do. That's the work we do. And we do it within a community, and we do it within structure, in a process, with teachings to back it up, and then tools aplenty to help you with continuously overcoming the ego. That is the work that I've been doing for so long that I'm here to help everybody with. And it is work. I still have to work at it. I mean, thankfully, I didn't get all heated and shit. Like, it's funny because I talked to Andy last night when that whole thing went down after my live and stuff too with you guys. Um, it just came out of nowhere. Nice. Literally, we were he goes, that's the thing that I don't think people know about you. That he goes, I love being friends with you because, and I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you, you guys will get there. But he said, he goes, you had a full damn day today, girl. Because I was sending him screenshots and all this stuff that was going on. And of course, he seems to always be the first one who comments on my videos, right? And he goes, the thing that I'm learning from you the most, because you hold it so well and you lead by example with it, is how to take things and not personalize them and then move through them really fast. Like you don't sit in it and spin. It's like we all need to learn how to do that. And that is something that for any of you who can't do that don't know how to do that linger a little too long, that get lost in the battles that we go through in life, right? That is possible. It is possible to where you're processing on the fly because you know how to do it. You're not personalizing it. You're not carrying it. You know when to cut ties. You know when someone needs to just completely be blocked out or just put on a timeout and ignored, right? We all, girlfriend, when I learned how to hold that space, because I used to hold things for days and weeks and months and years. Like I would tell the same traumatic stories for days and months and weeks and years. And if someone hurt my feelings, oh my God. Oh my God. Or if someone offended me, it was like, as little as I am, and I'm a Sag, I'm like, fight me. Like, you know? And it was about being right anymore. I'm of the mindset like your beliefs get to be true and you get to fight for your limitations in your belief system, regardless of how foul it is, evil it is, hateful it is, limiting it is. You get that granted, like wish granted. I'm not going to fight on it, but I used to think I had to change everybody's mind or that people needed to approve of me or agree with me. Like, you don't. We can totally disagree, right? I may not walk side by side with you. I do a lot of things based on principle, based on my own moral values, because I feel like a lot of the problems in the world today is that we have no value. We don't place value in the right places. We place them in the wrong places. Am I wrong? I mean, what are your beliefs? What do you guys think about that? Because I feel like we're devoid of values, especially in this country. Not that it was founded on big values, other than take what's mine. I mean, what's yours, and not have a problem with it. Those values kind of suck, if you ask me. I think they're shitty. And that's not how I live, right? So there's certain things from a value and moral standpoint that I will always live as my truth, because those are the things that are important to me. right? I try to be, but I'm human. I cuss. I will get angry. I do get pissy. I do vent it out and talk it out. I try not to um, have it all vile and full of hatred at all. Like, I don't want to charge that energy out. Remember how when Rima, when she was on her demon side and she would get frustrated, the energy she sent out went pink or red. It wasn't the soothing blues. Like, blue is this color of spirituality. That's why they use the blue. That pink or the more red colors, that's more that anger, rage, when you go the pink and the reds. Um, yeah. So we can, and I want you guys to know this, you can speak, talk through, express yourself. You can cuss. You can lay in bed and kick your feet, right? You get it. You easily move on. I've been working on that, get much better. I love that. Just when you know that it's possible, then we strive for it. Then we practice it and then we master it. The whole idea of mastery is repeat, 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 repeat till it becomes automatic. Because most of what we do is automatic, but it was unconscious. It was unintentional. And that's where then we're not powerful and we grow, right? We have some really interesting challenges at this time. And I think even that movie, just watching it and realizing even in her plea, she went to her aunt looking for answers. She went there trying to figure out, and she went there to call it out. Do you guys remember that? Like, she said to her, "You did this. You told me to hide who I was." In some ways, her ego was kicked in. She was blaming her aunt, but she was deeply hurt and looking for answers. I think we all do that at one time. We go, look, who can I blame? Right? The part I loved about that story is they did not let her stay there. They didn't let her stay there. Like, she moved through that. She left that behind and she went back to face the demon. She went back and she's like, I'm going to have to go through this alone then. That's fine. And she walked in from the darkness. There is no mistake. If you watch that last scene with her and walking on stage, she was in the shadows. And then step by step, she came out of the shadows into the light with all of her patterns showing. But the more she sang, the stronger her voice got, the more powerful her voice got. And that's when Gleam was like, stop the song. Like, she's got too much light. She went from, it's your fault. You told me to hide. You said they'd never accept me. Oh my God, right? Why didn't you take me out back then? There's something flawed about me. There's something wrong with me. And then she just dismissed the whole thing and ran away. But she didn't run away. She ran to the fight. She did not turn away from the fight. And that's what I'm trying to tell all of you right now. We cannot run away from the fight right now. Darkness has got the gloves up. We can't take the fight human to human. That's not what it's about. How do we fight it? Love, truth, teaching, patience. But the most important part right now, Spirit keeps telling me over and over again, speak the truth. Speak the truth. Speak your truth. Speak it out loud. That is your weapon. Destroy the lies with the truth. Destroy the silence that has choked everybody's voices off with the truth. Speak into the void. Speak into the darkness. We can all do that, whether it's to our families, to our neighbors, to social media, to where we can all do that. Speak love. And we're putting that frequency out into the field. That 144-second pulse every day. Every day. And every day at that time afterwards at 1:46, the numbers go up on that post. People are watching it every day. So we're all adding our frequency in. We're all putting our energy in, and we're bringing the light out. Let your feminine show, even if you're a man. Overcome your ego. Lift the veil. For real. Any questions? Y'all, what'd you learn? We're going to wrap it up early tonight. I had my test today. I almost didn't think that I was going to be able to make it. I think we need a whole lot more live and let live. Absolutely. Positive energy, positive intentions, true to yourself. Like that, if there's one thing I was to walk away with tonight, truly, it's be true to yourself. Know what you know. Everyone gets to have their beliefs, even if their beliefs are wrong. But it's kind of like what Rima had to do with Jinu. He's like, I can't be saved. I can't be. I'm not like you. Remember? He's like a demon. He had so much guilt, and he kept using the guilt as his reason for why he couldn't be saved. But somewhere in her continually putting it into him, speaking it into him, seeing him, believing in him, at that last minute, he believed in himself. And he took the hit for her. And I'm sure we'll see again in part 2. But the point is, it took someone believing in him. Right? I obviously, and I hope you guys understand this, like I could easily have with my TikTok live band gone, well, I'm not going to make any diamonds, as if that is why I ever did it to begin with. But literally, I believe in each one of you, or I wouldn't be doing these things. I believe in the people that I don't even get to see. I mean, on Facebook and YouTube, usually the replays, it'll hit over a couple hundred on the live replays, right? If I label them right. I don't get to see everybody because people don't like it. They don't comment. I don't know who got to watch it. But I believe enough in humanity that everybody can change and that everybody deserves a chance to learn. There's a feminine side in every man too. There absolutely is. That's why I love Andy to death, because he's got such a balanced feminine side. Yeah, when she believed in him. We fight for who we believe in. We fight for who we love. And sometimes who we love, it's hard to believe in them, that they can change, but people can. You know, it's still ultimately up to them to choose, right? The point of all of it for you, though, is to always speak your truth. Men don't like to hear that. They would hear it more if they understood that the whole point was always to be balanced. They just weren't taught it. That without embracing the feminine side, they're missing a huge amount of power. Literally, when you don't embrace your feminine side, your nurturing side, the divine wisdom can't reside within you, right? Men used to show their feminine side. It's very interesting to me, and something I love about like K-dramas and even watching K-pop and the bands interact. In Korea, it's very common for the men to cry, to be honest with one another. They're much more feminine. If you listen to their voices too, the men in Korea and Asia sing at a much higher pitch. Their range is much higher. And I think it has a lot to do with those higher frequencies, those higher registers have a lot to do with the fact that they aren't restricted in their self-expression. You know, I mean, they have all these variety shows on the one streaming platform that I'm on, Vicky, Rakuten, and they have like the K-pop stars, the guys, and they're very cute. Like, especially the young ones, they're very cute. They're not like Western guys. They have no problem giving each other hugs. They have no problem crying in front of each other. They hold each other's hands. And they're super affectionate with one another. The girls are too. They're very physically affectionate with one another, and they don't make it mean anything's wrong. And I think that's the way we should be living more, especially their interaction with their kids and families. Yeah. Back then, for sure. There's such a fight for macho and toxic masculinity here. It breaks my heart because it causes so many problems, right? But the ones that really get to me, and part of the reason why I left corporate America, is because in order to be successful and rise up the ranks in corporate America, you cry. I love that. I had to be more masculine. It was expected. To play that game, you had to be much more masculine, because in corporate America, especially back in the 80s and 90s, they did not honor the feminine at all. And it's still the same to this day. I have such a hard time working for anybody because in leadership roles, that is what they uphold. Now, corporations pay me, leaders pay me to speak to them about emotional intelligence and tapping into the state and intuitive development so that they can be better leaders, make better decisions, right? Remember not trying to do my hair, right? But there's still a battle. I mean, right now there's a big battle in most corporations and most ownership of the big corporations and workplaces in the competitive vibe of rise of narcissism in those leadership roles, which the more arrogant you are, the higher your rewards, which I think is wrong. I think that is why we stay in trouble. I tried to watch K-dramas, but the subtitle part bugs you. You get used to it after a while, Rita. Like, it's no big deal. I prefer that over the dubs because the lips never match up, and I like to hear their voices. There is a K-drama that's on Netflix. If y'all have Netflix, if you want to mind better, called Memories of Alhambra. That's the first one. The second one that's really good is Alchemy of Souls. That one's really good. That's more of a fantasy period sci-fi, not sci-fi, supernatural fantasy drama. My granddad was attentive to us kids, and because life was slower, and that's the other thing. Life was slower back then. So they had a different pace, and that's part of what the machine, I think, has done is it created a super fast pace to the point where we all can barely keep up. And technology has done that. The industrial age has done that. It's gotten really difficult for us, if we're not conscious, to take a minute, to take a beat, to slow down and be present. We've got so many more distractions, and life just moves at the speed of light. And I mean, inflation's climbed, but we don't have any of the other stuff. You watch Alchemy of Souls. It's a really good one. It's a really good one. Lovers of the Red Sky is another really good one. There's so many. If you guys ever need, because I spent, remember, 11 months in bed when I was going through chemo and radiation. Like I watched a lot of K-dramas. I watched some Chinese dramas too, but I watch a lot of K-dramas, and I know the good ones and I know the bad ones. But yeah, very interesting ones. There's some really good ones. Netflix doesn't have, I don't think, as much. Vicky's it's a very inexpensive streaming app, and that has all the Asian dramas on it, but has way more than Netflix. Netflix just started doing K-dramas because they realized it's a market that they could make money on. But yeah, anywho, All right. So that's our teaching for tonight. Like I said, I don't want to keep you guys for super long tonight. I'm feeling kind of funky because I had that gadolinium crap today, and it's still like I felt it when they put it in me, like up here in my shoulders, because I've been having shoulder and neck problems. So I've got some tight muscles up there. And all day today, I can feel that stuff, and I'm like, I do not like that feeling. I didn't have any kind of allergic reaction. I'm here. I'm happy. So I should know by Friday what they plan to do. They told me day before yesterday that I would have to have a second pelvic MRI on next Tuesday. But then she said today, she goes, I think we got all of it. We went pretty low. Right? Both the pictures pretty low. So thankfully, I don't think I have to go back next week. I'm going to rest. I'm going to go chill and watch some K-drama, probably. I have a show that I started and fell asleep, so I have to restart, or I'll watch K-pop Demon Hunter because I love that one. But yeah, did you guys learn something tonight? Do you want to continue with the Gnostic texts, or what else do you want to learn? Tell me so I know for the next one we do, which will be probably Friday. So let me know. Put in the comments. I'll wait. My face is puffy. Probably because, yeah, I don't know why. My weight's been weird. And that's part of my lymphoma too. My body holds fluids more right now. So, yeah, like my face, I noticed was swollen, like I'm gaining weight and I shouldn't be. And that's what happened before. A lot of people with lymphoma lose weight. Not Bernadette. She goes the other direction. Like, that's not fair. You like the Gnostic text? All right, we'll keep going. You guys are welcome to read the stuff like on your own, but I'll see what there's some good mythology stories in there. My hope is that when we talk about them, they give you insights. Are they giving you insights and understanding of how you can use the gnosis, how you can connect to it? In the Gospel of Philip, there's an exercise, the bridal chamber, and that's something that I'd love to teach you guys. We'll talk about it, but that's about looking deep within you. Definitely keep going. Always do. Yes. All right, we'll keep going. All right. I will probably be back Friday unless something happens. I have an appointment Friday. Today's Tuesday. Yeah. And then tomorrow I have my Hidden Wisdom people, and Thursday I have Charm Life. So I won't be able to come back till Friday. You guys are welcome to share the videos from our sub replays, the lives. I basically, because I'm not going to be doing TikTok sub stuff anymore, and I'm looking at different ways to do things so that I can pay for like I had to buy this software again to be able to stream again. I'll figure that stuff out, but for now, you can share those teachings. You can share all of that. If you want people in the Discord that want to be part of the community, you can share with them the link or just have them message me. You know what I mean? That's where I need to go deep. All right, cool. I'm excited. I'm a little bummed about TikTok. Really kind of bummed about the lives on TikTok because I like the flow of our lives, go really good in there. Energy's high. But I think we can bring people over to the YouTubes and whatever and build it here. We're not going to let them stop us. And I honestly think the app's going to continually get screwed up, more and more censorship as we get close to September, and then God only knows what it becomes. So Blue Sky is setting up live streams through Skylight, but it's not done yet. It's not ready yet. So we'll just see. We'll just keep it going this way. I know. I'm disappointed. It's fun over there. I can't take the chance of them getting rid of my account for lives at all. I mean, I could go on my other account, but I have to wait a month because I quit the agency on this account since they didn't help me twice now overturn the appeal thing for the bans. So I have a second account. I could go live on that account, but I can't go live on that account for a month. So I have to wait out. Or no, I can't go live on that account for a week. That's right, till the 20th. So I can go live over there because I don't care if I lose that account. We might be able to do that. We'll see. Because I like TikTok, but I don't want to go live on my main account because I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose my following. The censorship is so bad right now. Like, it's so bad right now. But I can't, like, I just have to be careful on my other account. But again, I don't have any violations on that account. So after my ban is lifted, I think on the 20th, I can go live on that second account. So we might do that. I'm going to have to see if I can jack it into here because I don't want to leave my people out on Facebook and YouTube either. Like, I feel bad. It's sad they're messing it up. I know. It's dumb. It's dumb. And I don't want to not be able to share what's going on. Like, I don't want to have to freaking monitor myself so closely. I told them I didn't say anything that wasn't true. Like, I am not one to spread a bunch of gossip and misinformation. They're like, you can't talk about the news. What? I can't talk about we can't talk about what's going on. But they got, like, that's what Aaron Parnas fought. That's what Whack-A-Mole, whatever his name, Hawk got. Christina talked. Same thing. It is too easy for people to report you as well that decide they don't like you, and then your stream just gets knocked out and you get a violation. It's just not good. But at some point, I would much rather, like, if they're going to do it on Starlight and they're going to model it after TikTok lives, I don't know if they can because they're on a different open protocol. But if they can, it would be fun over there too. So, yeah. Good night, Rita. Everyone have a good one. I will see you guys later. Communism. I know, Susan. Oh, my God. I'll see you guys there. Have a good night.